Well, there is a real possibility that there could be serious trouble of the type that you mentioned, Bob. I strongly advocate nonviolence. That's the worst thing that I want to see. I truly believe that violence begets more violence. History shows, I know enough about history to know that history shows that there have been revolutions from time to time. Soviet Russia, well, Tsarist Russia had one in 1917, became Soviet Russia. It didn't turn out too well. I mean, something like that could happen here easily. It could happen anywhere. If you put people in enough duress, in enough pain, and they're hungry, and they have no work, and they think the government should do something minimally to help them, and if it's not forthcoming, then enough of them just may react the way you're talking about. I think there was real fear in the 1930s, Bob, that the echoes of the Russian Revolution were still pretty fresh then. I think there was real fear that we could have something like that happen here. There was an awful lot of unrest, and I think enlightened business people and the Roosevelt administration, they weren't benevolent so much. The main goal was to save capitalism and also to preserve the financial system. But they gave a little to save a lot. So they instituted some real change. They put millions of people back to work. I see Obama talking about putting people back to work, talking about saving homes from foreclosure, but I see nothing substantive being done to do these things. So maybe we've slowed the job leaching, Bob, from numbers much higher than the reported ones, as you say. The data coming out of Washington is so badly corrupted. You and I both know that the real unemployment rate is over 20%, not this fictitious 9.4 that gets reported. And all of the numbers coming out are corrupted to make them look better than they look and hide the true erosion of what's going on in the country. And most important, the immense harm it's done to so many people, and how many more it will be done to in the months and likely years ahead. Oh, it really scares me. I'm getting on to 75, Bob. I wonder if I'll live long enough to see the kind of country I grew up in, which was far from perfect, but live long enough to see something that I could never imagine happening as long as I'd be alive. But like you, I see some terrible things that could be coming ahead.
Well, the way to solve it is that kind of legislation, which I mentioned, and if we can do that, we get a shot. And then we can stop all of this nonsense of bailing out the anointed ones and get down to business of saving America. And handouts are not going to do that, but jobs are. And, has anybody ever stopped and thought that in a worst-case scenario, we really don't need anybody else? I mean, we have enough oil in America to be able to supply our own needs and everything else for the most part. And that means that we, the biggest market in the world, can really function without others. We don't want to do that unilaterally, but what we want to do is protect our government, our people. And the formula I've given you is so simple, and that's the way it will work. And if it doesn't come, then we're going to slide into this terrible situation that nobody wants to see. I'm 73. I believe that you and I both will see the outcome of this, and it's going to be painful, even if it's on the best of circumstances, under the circumstances. And I tell people very often, we're going to have the same kind of economic life that we had during the late 40s and through the 1950s, where not everybody had very much, but they got by. And they're just going to have a life which is not filled with conspicuous consumption, to quote Thorstein Veblen. But, and I do remember that far back. But anyway, that's the way to do it. And Ron Paul's got the right idea. And I haven't even talked to him about any of these things. But that's why I'm doing 35 or so programs a week for the last few months, far more than I normally do, is putting the word out on this. And I was going out on Fox, ABC, NBC, CBS, etc., and all kinds of other talk shows. And I think I got to a lot of people because I would have never dreamed that today, as of yesterday, Ron Paul has 213 co-sponsors. And I think by the end of tomorrow, and I'm just guessing, we could have the 218 necessary to force that issue, that bill, out of the committee and onto the floor. And I think it will pass.
Well, the way to get this stuff,
I don't know if you know it or not, but last Friday, the Federal Reserve hired a lobbyist.
Oh, indeed.
Mrs. Robertson, who was the well, we'll have to rephrase that, the queen lobbyist for Enron. I mean, they could have made a better choice because, you know, the stigma that goes with it is dreadful. And so, but anyway, she's probably running around with a basket full of $100 bills, figuratively speaking, of course, telling all these people, look, you know where your money comes from. If you want to get reelected, you better vote against this thing. That's what's going on right now. And that brings up another subject. And this is going to be hard to get past at any time. And that is eliminate lobbyists and lobbying and eliminate campaign contributions. Everybody gets the same amount. You start a month before the election and you campaign on the issues.
Well, I will second both of those motions anytime, Bob. There are ways to get this through. Individuals calling, emailing, writing their congresspeople, their senators. It's amazing what can get done.
That's HR 1207.
Oh, indeed. Let's take a break, Bob. We'll come back in the last.
Sure.